Hey guys, welcome back to our Pearl Lemon YouTube channel. So in our previous video, we've discussed residential tenancy agreements, but in today's video, we're going to be diving deep into the world of commercial leases. So whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out, knowing how to draft a simple yet effective commercial tenancy agreement is crucial. So you need to think of it as the roadmap for your business's physical home, as it outlines the rights and responsibilities of both the tenant and the landlord, ensuring for a smooth and transparent relationship throughout your tenancy. So without further ado, let's get right to it. So first things first, why is a commercial tenancy agreement important? So now you might be thinking, isn't a verbal agreement enough? Well, let me tell you, it's a recipe for disaster. Verbal agreements are easily forgotten, they're misinterpreted and unenforceable. A written agreement, on the other hand, like a commercial tenancy, is your legal shield as it protects your business from potential conflicts and costly misunderstandings. So now let us get into the essential clauses that every commercial tenancy ought to have. So let us break it down into bite sizes. So number one, every tenancy agreement must have a segment for parties. So in this segment, it must include the business names and contact information. So you need to go beyond just names. You need to include registration numbers, addresses, and phone numbers for both parties. This ensures clear identification and avoids any confusion later on. If there are any guarantors on hand, you need to clearly state their details and responsibilities. Number two, it must have a segment for premises. So here, you need to be precise. Don't just say the building is located at 123 Main Street. You need to specify the exact unit, floor, and any designated areas like parking spaces or storage units included in the lease. If there are any common areas like lobbies, restrooms, or courtyards, you need to outline how they can be used and who's responsible for their upkeep. Number three, it must contain a segment for term. So here you need to clearly state whether it's a fixed term or a month-to-month. Clearly state the lease duration. Be specific about start and end dates. For month-to-month agreements, you need to define the notice period required for termination by either party. And in terms of renewal options, you need to state, will the lease automatically renew after the initial term? And if so, under what conditions and at what rent? Number four, it must contain a segment for rent. So this is a big one. So you need to include the base rent and additional charges. For instance, is there a separate charge for utilities, taxes, or common area maintenance? You need to break down all rent components and their due dates. You also need to include late fees and grace periods. You need to specify any late fees for missed rent payments and outline any grace period offered before the fees kick in. You also need to make room for rental increase. For example, will the rent increase over time, and if so, define the frequency and how the increase will be calculated. Number five, you need to specify usage. So in terms of usage, you need to clearly state the permitted business activities. You need to clearly define the type of business allowed in the premises. You need to be specific. Just stating retail store may not just be enough. You need to include restrictions on products sold, noise levels, or operating hours. And also you can include if the tenant has exclusive use over the space, or can the landlord rent to other businesses as well. Number six, you need to include a segment for security deposit. So in this segment, you need to specify the exact amount required for a security deposit, and you need to mention the return conditions. For example, clearly outline the conditions under which the deposit will be returned to the tenant, including deductions for damages or unpaid rent. Number 7, you need to include a segment for utilities. So here you need to state who's responsible for paying the electricity, the water, who's responsible for trash removal, internet. So you basically list all utilities and assign responsibility. And you need to assign responsibility for each. And in terms of sub-metering, if the individual units are sub-metered, you need to outline how cost will be calculated and billed to the tenants. Number 8, it must contain a segment for maintenance and repairs. So here you need to define the process for reporting repairs and maintenance needs, who should be contacted and what information is required. You also need to be clear about who is responsible for different types of repairs, example, routine maintenance, damage caused by the tenants, etc. Number 9, it should also contain a segment for early termination. So in this segment, you need to include a break clause. Can either party terminate the lease easy, and if so, under what circumstances? Specify any penalties or fees associated with early termination, and in terms of notice period, you need to define the required notice period for early termination by either party. And number 10, and the final segment, you need to include a segment for default and remedies. So in this segment, you need to state what happens in terms of a breach of agreement. So what happens if someone violates the terms of the agreement? You need to outline the consequences for late payments, unauthorized use of the premises, or damage to the property. You also need to state dispute resolution here, specify how disputes arising from the agreement will be resolved. Will it be through mediation, arbitration, or court action? So there you have it, guys. 10 essential clauses that every commercial tenancy agreement ought to have. So yes, guys, drafting a tenancy agreement might seem daunting, but with the right guidance, you can navigate it like a pro. Remember, it's not just a piece of paper, but it's the foundation of a successful and secure business tenancy. So thank you all for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more legal tips and advice. Till the next video, bye!